spot resources. So without, really much effort at all, I have hemlock here. I can just break these, start doing a crisscross pattern. Really, if this were long term and we had time, we would weave this, but that's not the scenario. So, and don't feel guilty about doing this, because these branches are essentially, there's no green on them. The tree has to support these branches because they do have some life in them, but essentially they're not contributing. There's no green on them. So breaking these down, I'm really not too concerned, about being nice to Mother Nature. Might just be doing her a favor. So these don't need to be super strong. The more branchy they are, the better. Essentially what we're trying to create is somewhat of a net and kind of a bunch of little shelves. So as we put this here, when the leaves come down, they're kind of catching on top of these little branches. And the ones that are coming this way are getting stopped from going in the shelter. The ones here are getting caught from falling down. So that saves us from having to build a pile of leaves from here all the way up. We can build the pile just to here. So again, saving a lot of time, energy, and materials. All right, so next step, insulation. You can do it several different ways. I'll show you my way. Here's a way. That'll take you some time. And I will say, something you should have in your kit is trash bags. The reason is, once you gather a bunch of leaves, you can put 40 gallons in one trash bag in one area, walk to your shelter, pour it on, you're almost done. Versus having to get an armful, carry it over back and forth, back and forth. You're saving energy that way. And also, once you're done, you can actually cut the trash bag to create a more waterproof barrier. Trash bags are useful in all different ways, but in this situation, it can speed up your shelter building process and also give you a last layer of last layer of water protection. So here's how I like to do this. I like to get a big wide stance. That way I'm closer to the earth. Right now, my hips are at 90 degrees. Versus here, I gotta bend over a lot more. So I'm saving energy just by spreading my feet, and I can also reach all the way over here. Versus here, I can't really do that. So get a good wide stance. All you're gonna do is act like a dog. Use your forearms to compress it. Got a nice little chunk here.
All right, so when I start putting these leaves down, I'm going to start at the bottom. All right, what that's going to do as I start adding more leaves, this bottom stuff's going to support it. All right, I want to start at the top. Now, this is a very loosely expedient structure here. So leaves are going to fall through, but they just add to the insulation. So don't worry about leaves falling through. That's less leaves that we have to gather when we come to insulate the bottom of the shelter. All right, so as I'm laying it down, another thing to keep in mind, I don't want to shake it, right? Because this is an expedient shelter. So I'm going to compact it, and I'm going to lay it in there like an ice block. All right. And that you lose a lot less into the shelter doing it that way. Grab an armful. Try to compact it as best you can and kind of lay it in there purposefully. I'm going to do the same thing, start with my second layer. And again, I'm kind of keeping everything together and I'm forcing it in there. But because I'm keeping it compact, we're losing a lot less foliage.
So, getting darker and darker. We want this to be as best as we can get it with the time we have. And as it gets darker, we're realizing we put too much energy and focus on proper insulation. We need to get moving even faster, which is dangerous. So we made an error. We put too much focus on getting it just right. But the upside is this bottom half of our shelter wall is pretty thick and pretty solid. It's not going to go anywhere. And as the wind comes in, that's where we want most of the insulation. If we put most of it up top and very little on bottom, that wind's going to come right up from the ground, right into our shelter. At least this way, as the wind's coming up, it's going to get pushed away from this bottom layer, this bottom half. We're still going to get some that circulates inside, and it's still going to steal some of our heat, but far less than if we put all the focus on the top. So at the time we have, what we're going to do is really just kind of just somewhat just diminish some of the wind because we're out of time and we still need to make the bedding. Another tip, it's not too terribly cold yet. I'm starting to sweat. I'm gonna take my shirt off, tie the sleeves off, and use my shirt as a trash bag to gather materials to speed up this process. I don't want to sleep in this cold shirt, so as I fill it with leaves, that's one, gonna speed up the process. Two, the leaves are going to absorb some of my sweat, speeding the drying process, making me sleep more comfortably. All I'm gonna do is take my shirt off. I'm still gonna lose some through the head, so I could tie the head off and waste all this time getting creative with that. But if I pack my shirt tight enough, those leaves are gonna seal, the neck, I hope. Have not done this before, but that's part of survival, being creative with what you have. This is actually not part of our inventory list. Now we know, hey man, shirts, what can we use? We can use this as our hat, gathering grubs, you never know. So I tied the sleeves off. Let's see, I got some leaves here. Let's see how this looks. Another little tip, make yourself a nice little wall, a floor, excuse me. You can go ahead and step on that. So that way, I can just grab my hand, shove all this right in there. And again, this is really, if I had time to do this, I would want to take the top layers of leaves where they're the driest and gather only those, because I don't want to sleep on a wet surface, but we don't have time for that. So a little bit of moisture and having body heat and a decent shelter is a much better option. There we go. Cool. So that's another way to check your wind. You can feel it with your fingers, but nice dry leaves, you crumple them up. The wind's still coming this direction, we're good. So here's our priorities though. We want to have bedding for insulation to keep us from the cold, wet ground, especially when the temperature drops down to probably 17 tonight. That's pretty rough. So we want insulation, but we also want wind blockage. So this is based on how unprepared we are, which is on us. That's the situation. We have half of our shelter wall built. That's going to block a good chunk of the wind. So that's a really good start. But with so little light left, you got to kind of reorganize your priorities. Do we finish the wall, run out of daylight, and then have no insulation? Or do we have half a wall, put our bedding down, a good bed, have that good insulation? Maybe if we can muster up a little extra energy and really be careful, we can finish off the top of this. But even if we just have half the wall built, half the block done, the wind block, and a full bed, that's a lot better than having a full wall and no bed. So we're gonna shift our priorities to finishing the bed. So we're gonna try to get insulation as high as we can up to the peak, because by the time we compress this, we're gonna be down to here. So in this situation, time is not on your side, nor is daylight. You gotta shift your priorities based on the elements and the environment. So t-shirt's working pretty well. What I did do is shift the shirt inside out. So if there's any sticks or anything in here that would kind of aggravate my skin, it's on the outside, not the inside. It takes about 2 seconds to flip it inside out. It can save you a lot of discomfort while you're trying to sleep. So I'm gonna pile that in here. I'm gonna go and start spreading it out. If we had more time, we would start packing it in the back and build it up till it comes to about here, then add a wall. We don't have that time. So if we had to stop right now, for whatever reason, at least we have 5 inches of insulation. It's better than sleeping on cold dirt. So next step, we're just gonna continue doing this until we have no more sunlight. Come over here. Dude, do you see what you're doing? You see that? Man, you got good eyesight, bro. I can barely see what's what. But I can feel it. It's something. Got a little more over here, I think. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. I got insulation all the way to where I need to be. We're gonna have to cuddle a little bit, man. This shelter's pretty. That's what we get.
We'll wake up cold, but we'll wake up.
Yeah.
when you're sleeping on the ground, you know, you saw Will demonstrate about the whole, you know, doing this to kind of get your size. But one thing you want to keep in mind, when you're sleeping on the ground, you're going to have uneven objects and stuff. So ideally, you want to sleep on your stomach, because your stomach is not going to feel those rocks and those sticks nearly as bad as your back will.
I'm going to add something to that. I want you guys, you know, at home that are watching this, the next chilly night, maybe you sleep in a cold house, got the AC on. Great. Go ahead, take the blankets off, and just lay down like this until you get cold. And then see how quickly you get warm simply by turning over. So one, it is more comfortable in a survival situation. Like Dave says, you know, sticks digging into your spine and on your backside where we have, you know, usually less fat. It just kind of sticks right into you. Bang your belly absorbs it much better. You know, we have pecs, just more musculature and fat stored in the front. So it's more comfy, but also too, you'll feel within seconds how much warmer you feel just by being face down. All right, so given our scenario, minimal time to get everything ready. I'll be honest, this shelter sucks. We don't have enough insulation to keep us warm, to be honest. The bottom layer of our shelter, pretty good for blocking wind, but the top, not so much. You can see this huge opening. So honestly, this shelter's, it has a purpose. It's gonna help us. Basically what it's gonna do is allow us to actually wake up. This is gonna give us enough comfort and warmth to at least keep us alive. Again, we shouldn't have gotten so lost in the tracking process, and we should have insulation honestly up to here, and we crawl into the leaves, even have enough to kind of bury us as a blanket with leaves will do a paramount of benefit. But that's not what we have. We have no time. It's pretty much dark already, so we're gonna make do with what we have, and it's gonna be a rough night. What I wish we had time for is enough time to build at least another wall here with at least half of it covered with leaves. So we have, you know, wind blockage from both directions, but the wind is still steadily coming from the rear. Doesn't mean we're not gonna get a gust from the front. And since I am taller, heavier, I'm basically a big wind block for Dave. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take as many shifts as I can sleeping. So since I can block most of the wind from Dave, from what comes here, and keep most of his warmth back here, for him, I'm gonna snuggle up close to him, and I'm gonna do the best I can just to bear with it. If I get too cold, it's gonna be rotate time. We're gonna have to switch for a little bit. So I'll roll out, Dave will come in front of me. Once he gets too cold, we'll rotate throughout the night. It's gonna be miserable, but at least both of us get some rest instead of just one of us. Because this is a team situation. His knowledge and my knowledge makes a great team. If I wake up and I'm just exhausted and I have nothing to offer, Dave's gotta carry my weight then. So we need to consider both of ourselves in this situation and make sure we both get at least some rest. So if you find yourself in a situation, hiking along and hunting maybe, and you find yourself in this situation, whoever is, I hate to say it, whoever has the higher body fat percentage, like me, should be in the front, taking care of the person that's gonna freeze a little faster. So just like the ground, you know, insulation is key in this situation. The more insulation we have, the warmer we will be. So if you came in a survival situation with more insulation than the other person, you know, contribute to the team. You already have physical attributes to help the team. So if you're a little thicker, have a little more body fat than your partner, go ahead and use that to benefit both of you. You'll get colder much slower than someone much leaner. So if you have a higher body fat percentage, take one for the team and help keep your partner alive.